Hark the bardic paladin, who sings and plays again. He tells the tales of glory and weaves a magic story. He'll join you at your table and ask you to share a fable. Heroes of humble origin, villains who must be fought again. No matter their skill or prowess, the people in life are countless. So we pray you heed our request. Enjoy this tale of sidekicks and side quests.
Episode 163, Tobias the Grimlock Thatcher. Welcome to Sidekicks and Side Quests, the Dungeons & Dragons podcast that helps to put humans back into humanity and breathe life into your campaign NPCs with backstory and bravado. That's right, we're building a world, one character at a time. I am your host, Kurt Krenwelge, the Bardic Paladin, and I'll be joining Grant Kress's table in the levitating platter. Hello, and welcome to another month's exciting episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests, the best unofficial Dungeons & Dragons podcast, in my humbly biased opinion. I've got an awesome guest for you this month, but before we get to my mystery contestant, I got to do it. I got to leave you in suspense with the ad read, the things that, help to keep the lights on for the podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Plus One EXP and their brand new RPG Zine Club. It's a golden age of indie and small press RPGs. For the last several years, Plus One has made it our mission to help new indie creators and small press imprints get their products onto tables worldwide. Our highest goal is to create more sustainable and equitable pathways to getting games made and played. Now we want to take on our most ambitious project yet with RPG Zine Club. What is RPG Zine Club? It is a monthly membership subscription service featuring fresh zines from emerging and expanding creators across the globe. It's our way of inviting GMs, players, and zine lovers everywhere to invest more intentionally in the creative community. It's crowdsourced support without crowdfunding. Now, what are some of the features you have to look forward to when you join the RPG Zine Club? Well, you've got monthly releases with 2 20 to 44 page saddle stitch zines. Take your pick from story zines, adventure zines, or get both kinds. You can get print and digital or digital only of your favorite titles. Join the Clubhouse Discord. It's a section of our online community for club members to discuss and play new titles. Get the best prices guaranteed. You can select your frequency of how often you'd like titles, and you can get what you want and only get what you want. If you miss a month, there's no worries there. You can add recent titles to your month's order and get an annual surprise each February after your first anniversary. Get access to special content, including interviews, how to play videos, and special content for Zine Club titles. Do you like free pizza? Fill out one of the RPG Zine Club passports and redeem it for free pizza at events. You're going to get to encounter new and known designers. We source the best voices from across the RPG design community. We curate zines based on community interest and feedback to help you discover your new favorite creators. We are DIE focused. Plus One is committed to champion diversity, inclusion, and equity in our projects. Creators with diverse experiences make our community better. Zine Club prioritizes creating equity for all of our creators. And it's more than a purchase. Your subscriptions will let us invest more heavily in our print partners and provide them with potentially life-changing support by consolidating scores or hundreds of purchases as the club grows. So, if you want more details, please be sure to go to the website rpgzine.club, and this all can be found also by going to the website plus1exp.com. On that website, if you're making a purchase for a beard balm, a lip balm, beard RPG, or whatnot, and you're looking for a code to use at checkout, be sure to use the code Randolph, RANDOLPH, and save some coin on your purchase. Again, the website to get the discounts from me and provide a kickback to me to help support the podcast would be plus1exp.com with code Randolph. And be sure to go and check out the brand new rpgzine.club. All right. Without further ado, I turn the microphone over to my guest and I ask, hello, mystery contestant. Would you care to introduce yourself, tell us who it is that you are and what is it that you do.
Hi, my name is Grant, and I have a little series on Instagram and TikTok called Roll for Magic Item. It's a daily series where I roll up a brand new magic item using a set of tables that I created myself. It's based off of the uh, series Roll for Sandwich by
Mm,
the creator Adventures in Ardia, as most of those Roll for whatevers are.
yeah.
I got to give him the credit. Definitely took most of my ideas from him, even down to which dice I was going to use when I started.
Wow, that's great. I am definitely a sucker for these roll for fill in the blank, Instagram accounts and stuff. Since the hobby collectively has had this diaspora where we've all been trying to figure out like what social medias we're going to. Like I know just the other day, I like really took like a good look in the mirror and was like, well, for my mental health and for the fact that I don't really get much traction over there, like I'm going to lock down the podcast Twitter X account and it'll be there for archival purposes. But now I don't have to worry about the stress of like one more social media platform that people aren't really interacting with the podcast. But on Instagram, where I'm seeing a bunch of these reels, you organically popped up in my feed, which is why I was like, this is cool. This is fun. And I wanted to, bring you on because, like I said, I'm a sucker for those roll for fill in the blanks and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've gotten some comments as well that are like, "Oh, I've seen all sorts of these roll fors, but this is the first actual Dungeons and Dragons thing because it's the Dungeons and Dragons dice that everyone's using. It's
Right.
polyhedrals, but most of them are and nothing wrong with sandwiches and sodas and cookies.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's you're using the dice, should use it for something D&D related.
Yes, and it was only, just earlier this week at time of recording that I've launched this brand new thing that I thought inspired likewise by accounts like yours where it's like, well, I do this podcast that's essentially like dice rolling. What if I do like a condensed version? Hence the reason why quick I need an NPC has started. And hopefully, when you listen to this in far in the future, I'll have a bunch of those up, but the plan is I'll do a couple of those to kind of help supplement the monthly episode schedule that I'm keeping for the podcast. But yeah, inspired by you, roll for sandwich, roll for salad, roll for soda, and even our good friend of the podcast, Hank D and Doodles, doing roll for dude, which I love commenting on his posts every day with a GIF that applies to the little dude that he drew. So perfect. Wonderful to hear. And it sounds like, you were saying like, well, obviously, these are the D&D dice and I want to be like a D&D guy that's rolling these D&D dice for these random magic items. So it goes without saying, probably easy question to answer, but do you currently or have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons before?
Oh yeah, I play D&D probably too much. I've stepped back a little bit, but I still have a mostly weekly game every Sundays, or each
Wow.
Sunday. And currently, I'm playing in that one. Me and the dungeon master right now, we switch. Who's the DM? And so
Okay.
we each do a leg of our campaign for a few months, and then we switch. And so the campaign that I'm running with the Sunday group is kind of inspired off of. Dimension 20s, uh, where it's the high school
Oh, yeah, yeah. Fantasy High.
fantasy high. Yep. And so I have something similar to that in a real meta world. People talk about their spell slots, and the last season that I ran in that world, there was the bad guy was using like first edition magic when everybody else was using fifth edition magic, and uh,
Oh,
but yeah, so
that's
I've got.
cool.
And then, but I'm currently playing on Sundays, and we're in like a Spelljammer game
Oh,
right now.
fun.
And so
I love that.
I'm currently playing a Goblin Artificer. So that's fun. We're out on Pluto. We've gotten all the way out to the outer edge, and we're gonna go beyond because there's some extra extra spatial threat out there that we've got to deal with.
The Far Realm, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Occasionally I'll get a game, just a one-on-one with my oldest son. We just have a little one-on-one game that we play occasionally. That's kind of gone by the wayside for a little bit, as a lot of one-on-ones end up doing. I've done a few one-on-one campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've got this group on Tuesdays that I meet with very regularly. I call them my Tuesday Cruise Day. And
Oh,
I have been meeting with that same group. People have come, people have left, but I have been playing with them for as long as I've been playing D&D, like 10, 11 years.
wow.
Yep. And then Wednesdays, I used to have a really big party, and then that dwindled down to a smaller, and then it continued to dwindle down until it was just me and a really good friend from college. And so
Mm-hmm.
she and I, we still meet up uh, on our uh, on our video chat. And sometimes we just hang out on Wednesdays. Sometimes we uh, try to get a game of something going. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then the week continues on, and so do the games of D&D. I got a monthly game with this group of guys that I've been playing with for several years as well. Currently, I'm playing in that one, and we're actually doing a different system, not D&D, but we're doing Blades in the Dark.
Ooh.
That's a pretty
Okay.
fun system. If you've never played that, it's you create a pool of d6s based on what you're trying to attempt. It's yeah, it's a pretty easy to pick up system, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're running. That's what we're playing in there, because I've been taking a break from DMing that. But and then
Yeah.
it's Saturday. I don't have anything on Saturday. I don't have anything on Thursday really, but
Yeah.
the rest of my days are pretty packed with D&D.
Well, that sounds amazing, and really cool to hear and special about, running D&D for your kiddo, which is something that my 5-year-old little guy is like, well, you do your D&D podcast and you started this quick I need an NPC thing, daddy, I want to play D&D. And D. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I gotta figure that out. But he's already started trying to invent his whole campaign setting. So I've already started taking notes in his character, but yeah, we'll have to sit down and figure that out. So that's exciting to hear that, you've got games with family, games with long-standing college friends, and other friends that you made along the way, and the whole gamut. So that's amazing.
Yeah, my oldest son, he started playing when he was about 5 as well, but it was just quote unquote playing. We would have a game with some friends, and then we would still have the map out the next morning. And
Hmm.
so he would put some of his toys out on the map, and we would put our characters there, and he would be like, "All right, this is a dragon." And so now we have to fight the dragon. And we're like, "Well, we're just level 3 characters, and there's 2 green dragons out here." Well, this was fun while it lasted.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like your own home version of a purple worm faster kill. Beautiful. Well, with the name of this podcast being Sidekicks and Side Quests, we like to focus on the other and the path least explored, if you will. So, for the first of these, I always like to ask, who is your favorite NPC or sidekick character, whether they be from one of your many games of D&D, video game, movie, film, television, literature, etc. And why is this character your favorite sidekick or favorite NPC?
Well, when you first invited me on to here, and I was thinking about sidekicks and NPCs and things, the first NPC that I thought of is one that I don't often bring into my games. I cycle NPCs in through all my games. It's,
Sure.
if you play long enough with me, you'll recognize, oh, that's this person, or that's that other character that he used to play, or whatever.
But now he
Um,
has a mustache.
Yep. Now he's got a mustache. But now this character, this NPC that I immediately thought of is a very big, warty bullywug, like a toad bullywug, and his
Oh,
name is
okay.
Bert Gumble, and that is spelled BRRRTGMMBLLL. And Bert Gumble he's a retired adventurer.
Okay.
He was from a party of 7 adventurers, and he runs this shop, and he's got 18 magic items always available, but not to buy. He has these items available to trade.
Mm.
He also has these 6 shield guardians, that he's created over the years. Each one of them reminds him of one of his former adventuring party members, all of which have fallen before he did.
Mm.
And so he's named each of his shield guardians after his different party members and has attuned 3 magic items to each one of them. And so
Mm.
if you come in and you have a magic item that you haven't used in a long time, you can sit and you can decide which magic item you want to trade your old one for one of Bert's used ones. And it takes a couple hours to unattune an old item and reattune the replacement one. And so while you're sitting there for a few hours with Bert, he wants to hear about your adventures and he will tell you
Ah.
about his adventures. And so it's a good opportunity for the players to role play either things that happened off screen or on screen during
Mhm.
during the games, things that really connected with them that I as a DM may not have thought, wow, that was just kind of a throwaway scene in my mind. That was really
Mhm.
cool that it meant that much to you. And hear what the players respond to with Bert and his characters and his backstory, his fallen allies.
That's really cool. I love the idea of a Burt Gumble. You just started describing him, and in my head, I was thinking like, oh, this reminds me of like the times whenever I've gone to like a pawn shop or something like that. But then you threw in like, oh, while you're there waiting for things to tune or unattune, it's kind of more like he's okay, yeah, he's like a collector, but he's someone who's like truly like a hobbyist or an enthusiast in the space, and so it's like everyone knows like, oh, if you need to get something, you go to Bert, and he trades in stories, and he'll take his time, and you'll learn something while you're sitting there waiting for something to vibrate properly with your being, so then it's attuned. I don't know. I always think of things. Maybe it's because my world is more musical, in a sense. But I always envision attuning the magic items like a humming or like a frequency. Like it has to literally resonate with your body on a metaphysical level for it to feel like you feel it like comfortable in your body, where you're like, okay, yeah, like this is obviously my sword. I know how my sword feels like in my hand versus like, oh, this is like a new thing I picked up and it's like vibrate, maybe not literally vibrating wildly, but you're kind of like, ooh, this feels weird. Like I haven't sat with this for a while.
That's really cool. And I never thought of that. I really like that image. And most of the people I play with are musical as well. So I think that they would legitimately resonate with that concept.
There you go. That's what the beauty of this podcast is we generate great ideas and I just give them away. And I don't try and monetize them because this hobby just needs to be about people sharing good, fun, cool ideas and not always chasing the almighty dollar for it. So, uh, but I'll happily take your money if you want to sponsor me on a Patreon or something like that. But for fun ideas, like that's a freebie. Perfect. I love that answer. And then for the other side of the equation with the namesake of the show, what happens to be one of your favorite side quest or B plot elements? Again, when we're thinking about your many games of D&D, video games, movie, film, television, literature, etc. And why is the side quest or B plot element your favorite?
Well, I look at that high school game that I was talking about where the characters are high schoolers
Yeah.
because the majority of the those games take place not really in the classroom, but it's very those seasons. I usually have them last about 9 months, like how long a year
School
of
year.
school would last.
Yeah.
And when you have a timed game, when I want it to end now, you kind of have to plan it out a lot more than you would
Hmm.
for a longer game. And so I I when I feel that I'm kind of getting stuck in the like, nope, the story has to go this way. I try not to railroad my players too much, but when you're
Yeah.
when you got a specific timeline that you're trying to stick to,
Prom's still going to show up whether you like it or not.
right? Yeah, So yeah, I've got when I'm trying to stick to this timeline, but I'm feeling too locked into it. All of the games of the high school games, it's called Ardman Academy, is what we call it in my game world, and they're each one that I've run somewhere in
Mhm.
the middle of the year. They had a random different thing that they did for the sophomore year of my first game through Ardman Academy. The sophomores got visited by 5 Phoenix pups or Phoenix
Oh,
cubs, and they had to form into their adventuring peer groups. The faculty at the school does not want them to be called parties because we're not here to party, we're here to learn.
ah,
And so they got into their adventuring peer groups, and the Phoenix Cubs went and they chose which adventuring peer groups they were going to be as their champions, because it was this adventure that I pulled out of one of those. It's a book that's got all the tables in it. I can't remember exactly which one it's from, but it's I think it's Jeff Ashworth has a series of these books,
okay.
and it's the Phoenix Cubs. They are vying to see who's going to be the next Phoenix that's overseeing the grand timeline of everything.
Okay.
And but the Phoenix Cubs, they can't do these challenges by themselves, lack of opposable thumbs and all. And so there's these a couple of trials that the party has to go through,
Mhm.
and the the adventuring peer group or the party that finishes first gets to have their Phoenix Cub ascend to be the next Phoenix that oversees the timeline.
Ooh.
So that one was really fun because it's just something different and totally new, because they got brought to this realm of heroes. It was taken out of the regular game world. Got to see new things. Got to throw giants in a sauna, and they had to sneak through the sauna and not disturb the giants lest they be smashed for the hammer. In another game of a different Ardman game, the party accidentally got sucked into little glimpses of the nine hells. Not totally in the nine hells, but just little glimpses of them, and they had to pass through all 9 of them and reunite at the end. So just something that is a break from the normal is always helpful, because one, it keeps me as the DM fresh.
Mhm.
If I'm feeling bogged down with, oh, I'm doing this for so long, I want to do something different after a little bit. So it keeps me fresh, keeps me with my creative juices flowing. And then also when we get back to the main plot, it gives me an opportunity to check in with the players, because I'm not expecting them to, we just spent 6 to 10 weeks doing other things.
Mhm.
And so I'm not expecting you to remember everything that happened 2 months ago. So
Mhm.
let me recap the entire entire campaign up to this point, because I remember it because I ran it.
Mhm.
You guys were there. I'm sure you remember highlights, but it's good to recap everything, bring everything back together, and make sure that everybody is on the same page and remembering everything, because now we're
Mhm.
jumping back into it, and I want you to remember what happened 2 months ago.
Perfect. Yeah, great. And then the way that we round out the personal interview section, Grant, what are you passionate about and why?
Well, I love getting new people into this game because I love it. It's a way to express creativity, be someone different, and explore who you are by exploring who somebody else is. Because no matter how hard you try it, when you make a character, you are going to shine through it.
Mhm.
You're gonna put something of yourself in there, whether it's, oh, I didn't even know I was afraid of heights or something like that, until until your character is dangling out of a window and you're like, that is actually kind of, yeah, that is why I'm nervous about this or whatever. That's
Mhm.
just an example. But and it's a friend of a friend of a friend. I heard this story about she was going through some cancer treatments, and she enjoyed playing D&D because she was just getting beaten down and losing, felt like she was losing a lot in life, and
Hmm.
just being able to pick up a hammer and smash a monster and win is just so,
Right.
yeah, because uh I'm sure that there are mean DMs out there that are against their players. I want to say to any DMs listening, don't be mean to your players. You know, they're here
Yeah.
to have fun. You're here to have fun. We're and yeah, don't pull your punches. You know, don't make your party win. Last night I was just playing a game and the bad guy was a banshee. And the party they didn't know she was a banshee. They thought she was a ghost. But they
Mm.
knew that she was able to cast spells and the cleric casts silence. I'm like, that cuts off the whole banshee thing. She was supposed to wail and knock everybody out. But I rolled with it.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, I'm like, I can still beat you down in other ways. I can do my corrupting touch and horrifying visage and things like that. But you know, I could have pitched a fit. I chose not to because
Right.
I'm here for the players. The players want to have a good time. I want to have a good time. I'm still playing. So
And celebrating the triumph of your player being smart and being like, "Oh, well, I'm going to silence you," and then suddenly, like they feel like, "Whoa, we didn't even know she was a banshee," and that was like a clutch move. Good job, Dave or
yeah,
Betty or whoever it was that cast silence.
yeah, and it was after the session wrapped that I was like, well, it was pretty rude of you to silence the banshee, but whatever. And they were like, yeah, we didn't even know. I thought she was just going to cast some spells because she was summoning shadows all throughout the session,
Hmm.
but yeah, so I really love getting new players in to the game. I have probably over my 10-year of DMing have probably gotten, you know, a dozen or two new players into the game. My Wednesday party, when we had a really big group that had the same campaign for like 3.5 years, we I got introduced to when new players were joining the virtual table. I do all of my games virtually, by the way.
Oh, okay.
The only one that's on the table is the one-on-one with my son. But
Hmm.
when a new player gets brought to the virtual table, somebody called me the godfather of the D&D group, and I'm like, cool, I'll be called that. And so yeah, just welcoming new people in and getting them to know the game, know themselves, or people that haven't played in a long time, getting
Hmm.
them reinvested in the game.
And so for 10, so you've been rocking the 2015 or the 2014 version rather of the fifth edition of D&D then for these last 10 years.
Yep, I've only ever played fifth edition. I looked into other editions just for that one year of the high school game where the bad guys were using prior edition stuff. But I've only ever played fifth edition at an old job. I had some coworkers that they were talking about, oh yeah, I play D&D, but I do third edition, so
Mm.
use rope and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, sounds weird, but hey, as long as you're playing.
Well, that's cool. That's a great answer. I'm glad to hear that you're passionate about bringing people into the hobby and you being known as the godfather of D&D in your local area. I hope that all those players that you're bringing in are getting inspired and then they're turning into DMs and game masters and they in turn are then going to run games for you to give you a break.
Yep, that's always good. I love being able to sit back and play. But I'm a forever DM, and I am fine with that. I love to DM. I like playing as well, but I love
Mhm.
DMing. May or may not have a little bit of a control issue, but
Well, perfect. Well, we've made it through here, the personal interview section, and now it's time to head into some NPC creation. And NPC creation is brought to you by you, the podcast audience, and our patrons from Patreon. So now's the time in the show where we give a shout out and a loud hurrah To our comfortable patrons and above, so to you, Anson Jablinski and good old mom and dad, we say cheers. Happened to have finally pulled out a Shiner Bach pecan pie flavored beer. They're not a sponsor, but I love Shiner and good times, good stuff. Yes, so all these fine folks that I named, I said are comfortable patrons. That's just $2 a month, and you get a shout out on all our episodes. But we have more than just that. Even for just $1 a month, you're like helping to get your name on the wall, the metaphorical wall of the tavern, and you're just helping to support the show. But we've got all kinds of tiers of patronage waiting for you. And if you want to learn more about them, like these folks I named are considered wealthy patrons, which means they get to introduce an element of chance to our random tables, and we might get to hear some of their answers used here today. So if you want to learn more, just go to the show notes below, go to the podcast website, or just go directly to patreon.com/sidekicks and side quests to learn more about the accommodations that we got waiting for you. Lots of free people hanging around in the Patreon. Love that. But if you want to up it, hey, water's fine. We'd love to have you. But otherwise, the more the merrier. And we say cheers. There we go. Okay. So now is the part of the show where we get to make up an NPC. And I had the brilliant idea of like, oh, well, you have random tables that you use, and I have random tables that we use. Why don't we just use all of our tables today and truly randomize an NPC today that's going to have a really cool magic item on their person? What do you think about that?
I'm here for it.
Okay, perfect. So then I've got my tables here. You have your dice at the ready, virtual or otherwise. And the way we begin this show is we got to figure out the name of the character. And the way to randomly generate this is with a D20 roll.
All right. I got a 7.
7. All right. Your answer provided to us today by Matt from Roleplay Chat, the podcast. Tobias. So Tobias, a second Tobias on the podcast. Very cool. Excellent. Okay, Tobias. All right. Then the next thing we get to roll for is the ancestry of the character. And this we do D100 or 2D10s to figure out what's going to be the ancestry, the race, the species of Tobias today.
All right. Well, that's a 17 for Tobias.
Ooh. It's been a while since we had one of these, but Tobias is a Grimlock.
All right. And those are, let's see, Grimlock, like the blind things from the Underdark, right? Am I thinking?
Precisely. Yes, they are the guys that live in the Underdark, and the skin is grown over where their eye sockets are, and so they're just they're in the Underdark, and they're I think, as I said in the episode before when they were used, and it's just kind of stuck with me, is just the neighborhood's gone to Grimlocks. So that's what Tobias is. Perfect. Okay. And then let's see, what's going to be the job or role or occupation that Tobias, the Grimlock, is going to have? This we roll a regular D10.
Regular D10 coming up. And that's a 3.
3, okay. This answer was provided to us from one of our audience members of one of the live episodes that I did at FateCon, Temp. Thank you very much, Temp. Thatcher, or roof repairman, is the job of Tobias the Grimlock.
Perfect.
And then the next thing we roll for is the age range of this character, and this we roll a D8.
Got an 8.
Immortal.
Whoa. All right.
So we have an immortal Grimlock named Tobias that is a Thatcher or roof repairman. And with all of these details in mind, we take a slight pause on the dice rolling because now with Grimlock, Tobias, Thatcher, roof repairman, and immortal, can you describe the physical appearance of this Tobias character?
Oh, well, I've shingled my fair share of roofs in my day. And I know that it's hard on the knees and it's hard on the back. Grimlocks are already kind of hunched over, but Tobias is very, very hunched over. He's almost squatting at all times.
Oh.
and back is at a perpetual arch, hands on his knees, just to support himself, because Griggs or Riggs or whatever it is, he's getting too old for this thatching stuff. But maybe he's got like a motto that his roofs are guaranteed for his lifetime.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, maybe that's the magic item coming into play later, but I don't know. Is there any particular inspiration that's hitting you as far as like how in the world is this Grimlock immortal, or is that just the perception because he's just seemingly always there and is like, well, he doesn't seems to have aged because every time you leave this place where he's at or this community or wherever he's based, he just always seems to be there.
Yeah, maybe it is just a perception. Maybe it has something to do with an item. But yeah, I can absolutely see he's always been there. He roofed my great grandmother's house, and he was old then.
Yeah. And are we imagining that he's, that Tobias here is in the Underdark and these are like Underdark roofs that he's working on? Or is this like above ground in the mundane world and he just like comes up and does his work and then he just disappears or whatever?
I was picturing in the Underdark, but with the idea of maybe he comes up, does some roofs, and then goes back down. Then there could be some rumors of maybe there's more than one Tobias down there, and it's just a name, just a title that's getting passed down. Whoever runs this thatching company, yeah, you're called Tobias now.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was just scanning through the Forgotten Realms wiki on it, and it does say, they've been around since the first edition Fiend Folio, and they are clearly based on the H.G. Wells Morlocks from the Time Machine. So if you're familiar with that early 2000s movie with Guy Pearce and yeah, where and Jeremy Irons was in that one too. So
Yeah,
there's a throwback.
not very recognizable in that movie, but yeah, Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, because he's the king of the Morlocks or something in that movie. Okay. So any other distinguishing features of this Tobias as far as how his thatching business work goes about? I know he's like permanently hunched over and stuff like that, so probably, makes him very good or speedy at being able to take care of all these roofs, but is there anything else that would distinguish him among the population of other Grimlocks in the area apparently?
I think he's probably got some type of uh, specialized gloves because he's blind. Grimlocks, they're blind. And so,
Mhm.
how is he going to be doing, making sure that everything is even? The thatching is even, all the, making sure that he's not falling off the roof. Maybe he's got a walking stick as well that he brings up onto the roof with him at all
Okay.
times. And specialized gloves so he can make sure that everything's even. Maybe there's like some, yeah, I'm picturing maybe like some little steps in the gloves so we can just ram the thatch up to level everything out. I don't know.
Cool. Yeah, I like it. And then if we had to describe Tobias with three adjectives, what three adjectives would you use?
Well, I'm picturing him as really cranky. he he does a really great job, and so he can, kind of like at Dr. House from
Mm,
House, he can afford to be rude because
mhm,
he's the best at what he does. So I think cranky, tired,
mm.
and perfectionist.
Okay. Cranky, tired, and a perfectionist. Yep. Par for the course, I would say. And now is the part where I say, and now we get to go back to some dice rolling. But of course, since I have, you know, powered by D&D here and you have all your fantastic tables for a magic item with the question here of what's going to be a valuable item, piece of lore, secret or ideal or concept that Tobias cares about, I think it would be apt to switch over to your tables now. And so now we're working through the magic item creation process with you to figure out, well, what's that special something that Tobias has got on his person. Maybe it explains why he's immortal, or maybe it's something cool that just helps him with his roofing abilities.
Yeah, let's roll that. Let me get my tables out here. All right. So, as always, you start off with 1d6 for the magic item type. And for that, I got a 6. So it's a ring. We're talking about an immortal or seemingly immortal creature that's got a magic ring. It's already given Tolkien a little bit.
Okay.
So he's got a ring. Hold on, let me write some stuff down. We've got the ring, and then we move on to 1d12 for the primary function, which we got an 11, which is my favorite number to roll on this table because it means that we get to roll twice.
Ooh.
We've got a 4 and a 12, which means that it's going to provide abilities in certain weather, conditions, or terrain. And then a 12 means +1 and roll again. So it's going to be a +1 ring
Okay.
that's going to provide some type of abilities in certain weather conditions or terrain.
Okay.
And one last d12, hopefully one last d12. Maybe it'll be more. Let's see. For the primary function, we've got a 9. So it's going to deal extra damage or allow you to deal extra damage to or give you protection from certain creatures.
Okay. I'm just imagining him being like, my favorite terrain is roofs. Therefore, that's why I'm so good at all this.
Yeah. All right. Then we go to the 1d8 for the originator. Maybe Tobias made this ring himself. Maybe he found it. Maybe he purchased
Oh,
it.
in the Underdark. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that 1d8 for the originator. We've got a 3. So that's a primordial or elemental.
Ooh, that's
Mm.
cool.
And then I always roll a d4 to determine which plane the primordial or elemental is from. And I only go with the elemental planes. And it's a 4. So alphabetically, that's air, earth, fire, water. It's from the plane of water.
Interesting.
All right. Then we've got the crunch here, which is the 2d12 for mechanics. I've got a 3 and an 8, which means that it's going to have charges and usable by
Okay.
spellcaster only.
Ooh, okay. So then that would mean he'd have to be a spellcaster of some type.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. The next couple things that I use are the wild magic and then the lore and plot hooks.
Okay.
We wanting to roll those as well, you think? Or
Yeah.
just kind of
If it helps us inform like Tobias's immortality and how this ring from the plane of water came to his person.
yeah. All right. So 1d10 for wild magic is an 8, which means that it's going to be spectral themed.
Ooh, okay.
So it's made by a water primordial, spectral themed.
Kind of like necromantic or something a little bit.
Maybe with I'm thinking like the Mirror of Dead Men again. Thinking Tolkien-ish now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one of my little pieces of paper fell out of my box. Got to put that back in there.
Got to put it back in.
All right. And then we got the D10 for lore or plot hooks, which is a 10. Okay. This is currently, or maybe this was prior to how he got it, was in the possession of an evil creature that must be defeated.
Okay. So he took it off the hands of someone who is evil somewhere in the Underdark and now uses it in his thatching business that he does.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then it's at this point in my videos when I turn the camera off and think about it and wonder, where do we go with this? How do we put all these pieces together?
Yeah.
Anything coming to you?
Yeah, so let's see. So it's a +1. Well, maybe the reason why it can work is, it says in certain weather conditions or in certain environments, and if it comes from the plane of water or it's made by a water primordial, maybe it can only work because like, oh, because this works because you have to be in a place where it like rains a bunch, or which would then be the reason why he's like, oh, well, I'm always thatching roofs. Roofs are rotting. They have to get like worked on and replaced and stuff like that. So maybe that's an element part of it or something like that. And spectral, I don't know. Yeah, we on this podcast certainly we leave it open up to interpretation. Certainly, if there's any definitive law that you want to lay down with this NPC, we're certainly happy to do so. But if you just kind of want to be like, well, it's a mysterious thing that some game master is going to have to figure out how it works in their world, then that's okay too.
Yeah. Something that popped into my mind when you were talking, rotting the rotting wood and things like that is, and it gives him protection from certain things.
Hmm.
Maybe this ring is giving him protection from mold. It's,
Oh,
and that's a hazard in the Underdark as well. Um,
true. Yeah, all the
and
fungal things that are down there.
Yeah, and working in, potentially old rotted wood and thatch, lots of bugs, lots of mold, lots of nastiness that's running around. So perhaps that's how he's staying young in a profession that, people might get like a wet lung or something, some weird random disease from in your whatever game world you're putting this in.
Yeah. And so then, but I think one of the other elements you said is that he had to be like a spellcaster in order for the ring to work. So I wonder if that kind of informs something. Is he more of like a shaman sort of a dude, or like he's legitimately like, oh yeah, I'm a Grimlock, but I also happen to be like a ranger or a warlock or a druid or something like that.
Yeah, I could see this guy being a Circle of Spores druid.
Ooh, okay. And then the ring helps him with I don't know. It's like, does the ring protect him uh from the from the spores and the druidness, or does it like go hand in hand with it?
I think it would go hand in hand, like, because it's using the things that he's maybe just built up an immunity to it, and
Hmm.
the rings helped with that. And so he's turning what could have been deadly to him into something that is his ally, and he's using
Ah,
against others.
okay. So, so Tobias the Grimlock is a Circle of Spores druid who's a Thatcher and has this magic ring that allows him to be like the best Thatcher that he can be. And I don't know, any other groovy things from the power of the ring jumping out to you as far as like how it impacts him and stuff like that?
Well, that plus one, it's a plus one ring. That plus one's kind of floating around there, and so I think that could be attributed to uh, pretty much any tool that he puts in his hand. I,
Hmm.
as a DM, I am a sucker for tool proficiencies. If a
Hmm.
player says that they want proficiency in smith's tools or carpenter's tools, I am all for it, and I will give them every opportunity to use their tool
So he
proficiencies.
has a proficiency with thatching tools.
Yeah, and it gives him a plus one for any checks that he makes to thatch a roof or repair something for the party.
Cool. So then if he's a druid then, so I mean prescriptive, not descriptive. So it sounds like this particular Grimlock, doesn't seem like he's going to stand out as far as like the stereotypical, oh, I'm neutral evil. I mean, unless he's a neutral evil Circle of Spores druid. Uh, but kind of interesting how this local community seems to have adopted him to be like, oh, yeah, that's Tobias. He fixes all the roofs in the area. And he just like, you know, hunched over and bent and just wobbles along, but then like once he scrambles up the roof and starts working, like, oh, I didn't think he could move like that. But then he's a speed demon.
Yeah, and that could even be where he collects his spores for his circle, is from the molded roofs that he takes the thatch out, he gets the mold and gets the spores from there. The ring protects him, but he gathers them together and then uses them for his druidic purposes.
Ooh, okay, that's cool. And it is fun again, the image of like, oh, this is a Grimlock, it's a humanoid-esque type of creature that could still be involved theoretically with like a surface world community, but he has just enough of a difference in him that you're like, oh, that's like the weird guy that lives on the outside of town, but like we need him because he provides this critical service to us.
Exactly. Is because he's necessary. We put up
Right.
with him.
Yeah, it's like a house, it's a hovel, and then but it's really there's like nothing in the hovel. It's just a big trap door that leads down to the Underdark, which is where he actually lives or something.
Yeah, he's got the biggest house in town. It's just all underground.
There you go. Perfect. Well, it sounds like we got a pretty cool magic item on our person for Tobias. And now what we would do is we would roll the last dice, which would be a d12 for us, to figure out what is going to be the side quest that Tobias is going to offer up to a bunch of heroes, to a bunch of player characters. Or unless you're inspired and you think you have thought of in your brain now what you think a side quest Tobias would offer to heroes. But if you want to randomly generate it, you can roll the last dice, which is a d12.
Well, I'm here to roll dice. So let's roll.
Let's roll.
I got a 10.
10. Ooh, okay. This one was provided to us by our previous guest, Kay Laird. Find the missing bride or groom.
Okay.
So how does that factor into Tobias's life? Does Tobias have like a daughter or a son or a niece or a nephew or just someone in town? Because if they're an established part of this town, they know all the people in the town, and oh, there's a big wedding planned, but all of a sudden someone's gone missing, sort of a thing.
Yeah, that second idea was more what I was thinking, that he was Tobias has been hired to rethatch the church roof because there's going to be this big wedding, but
Yeah.
somebody's got cold feet and they've run off, and the bride or groom that's remaining is saying, well, we're not going to have this, and we don't need the roof thatched. We don't need your services if we don't find this person. And well,
Mm.
Tobias, he wants to get paid, and so hire some adventurers. You got to go find this missing bride or groom so I can get my money.
Interesting. So not even necessarily like an altruistic sort of a thing. It's like, I really want to get this job done. In order for me to get this job done, we need to find this missing person.
Yeah, I think there's still a little bit of neutral evil in him. I mean, he's mostly a good guy, but at the end of the day, he's there for the money.
Okay. And yeah, kind of interesting how it's Tobias that's giving the side quest and not necessarily like a member of the wedding party or the families or something like that. Unless it's a very small wedding and there just aren't, or it's early enough in the process where they're like, oh, like, oh, we're getting the chapel ready. This is like a week before the funeral or the funeral. Maybe there is a funeral going on while they're getting it ready and the bride or the groom has come in and it's like, I can't find my person. There's no point in fixing the roof because now this wedding can't happen. And then the guy's like, well, I can't have that happen. So that'd be fun. If you think that sounds plausible.
Yeah, for sure.
All
Plausible in a
right.
world of magic and fey creatures. Yeah.
Indeed. And of course, with our side quests, with the bright gold exclamation point that's over the head of Tobias, we obviously want to know what's going to be the risk and reward and the dangers and all such on a basic level. So, what's going to be the reward for the party when the when they've Tobias has given them this quest? They go off and they whatever adventure it is, but they find the missing bride or groom and they return them to the church. What's going to be the reward for the party?
Well, I think that Tobias is not just a Thatcher. I think he can make other things as well.
Okay.
And maybe he can, put a straw hat. Or I have seen I've seen some like documentaries of like samurai that would wear like paper or straw armor
Mm.
that was like super lightweight, but also is like woven in such a way that it's really super durable. And so maybe Tobias can make something like that for the party. And they're
Ooh.
enchanted in some way, or just lightweight, but medium or heavy armor that doesn't require any strength.
Mushroom armor?
Mushroom armor, yeah. I've got a druid
Ooh.
in my Tuesday Cruise Day who's got mushroom armor. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe since Circle of Spores druid, maybe it's a combination of like, oh, here's some old thatching stuff with like enhanced mushroom growth, and so it's like a light armor category, but maybe it's on the same par as like studded leather or something like that because you got the little mushroom caps coming off that are acting like the little studs on the armor or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So he's willing to give the party a new piece of unique armor that they could wear that gives them. Does it provide any other material benefits, or is it just like, oh, it's just like mushroom armor? It's like studded leather. It just has a unique aesthetic look.
I think it could easily just be aesthetics,
Hmm.
but I have put a certain type of armor in a couple of my games that is spore armor that it will shoot off a cloud of spores in
Ooh,
basically makes that like what the circle of spores does instead of their wild shape they can shoot off that cloud of spores,
ooh,
so you
okay,
could do that with your armor or the opposite, and the armor has pores, so instead of spore armor it's pore armor, but that the pores can open up and suck in would be dangerous like toxins and clouds and stuff to prevent your party
okay.
members from taking poison damage or getting poisoned.
That's pretty cool. So could go either way on it, and it'd be interesting to hear how all the various versions of Tobias crafted their versions of this armor that they give out, and whether it does a thing where it shoots off spores or it prevents certain damage types from happening. But I could definitely argue the oh, you have like resistance to poison. Maybe you do like a cool thing where maybe like once a day the spores will do like a fairy fire effect or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Love fairy fire.
You go through like the myconid's abilities, and maybe not as powerful as some of the real myconid spores that shoot out, but maybe you have a proficiency, a language proficiency with myconids because like part of the armor will snake up into you a little bit, and it's like, oh, I can understand all the mushrooms talking. I am tapped into the fungal network of the world, sort of a thing.
Yeah, get that rapport spores going so you can communicate telepathically with your party.
Yeah, that'd be
Very cool.
cool. Yeah. Okay. But then we also have to consider the opposite. What's going to be the consequence of failure or refusing the call to the adventure? So, this cutscene happens, and they hear all this commotion in the church, and Tobias is like, "Got to go find this person," and the party's like, "No, thank you. We've got better things to do." Or they undertake the mission, but something catastrophic happens with like, oh, the bride or groom stays missing, they flee, they run away, they tragically lose their life, whatever it may be, and then they come back and report on it. What's going to be the consequence again of failure or refusing the call to the adventure?
Well, I got to think about who this bride or groom is. Are they a important person to the community? Are they the mayor's son or daughter? Are they
Hmm.
just you know a villager, a just someone? I was immediately thinking that it's somebody really important, like the mayor's son, mayor's
Sure.
daughter. And so failure for of the party for not either not taking up that call or failing the mission and not recovering the son or daughter, bride or groom,
Hmm.
the depending upon how powerful the mayor or the parent is, it could be as simple as refusal to seat them at the wedding table and they don't get to eat the wedding feast, or you are banished forthwith from this village and uh,
Ooh.
a price is put on your heads because
Yeah.
you bring back a corpse. That's not good. If you because then lots of fingers could get pointed at you. It's like, what did you adventurers do out in those woods?
Mhm. But now I'm thinking of Baldur's Gate 3, and Tobias is like, don't worry. And he does like a or he does like a resurrection or something like that. And then like they come back, but they have like more spores growing out of them and stuff like that. So they're like, hello, how's it going? And it's like, ooh, you got a little mushroom bit right there or something, dear.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
And then they just transform into a mycadid.
Yeah, it's a hazard of being in a D&D world. You sometimes turn into a myconid.
Indeed. And then I know we have some optional questions. If you feel like Tobias needs a little more rounding out, or if you're ready to proceed, we can head on to the next section of the show.
I feel like he's fairly well rounded.
All right. Well, if you're good, I'm good. And then we need to throw Tobias into a random encounter. This random encounter is brought to you by my sponsor, Zencastr. How do I use Zencastr? Well, that's the service that I'm using right now to be able to record my episodes of the podcast. It's what allows me to capture it all, put it into my editing machines on my new computer to get it processed and put forth onto the interwebs and podcast land for you all to enjoy. I was able to take part of this service, all thanks to my buddies Benjamin Huffman and Dane Fox McGraw over at the Dispel Magic podcast. And if you were at this time in your life wondering what can I be doing, what sort of hobbies or things that I could be branching out to, well, I'm here to talk to you today about Zencastr. It's so easy. It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen. Knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings at the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. You can sound your best. Have you ever wondered what you might sound like? Well, Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically works to remove those filler words in your recordings, and it makes those awkward pauses in conversation dip out as well. You can set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. It's all in one, so if you've thought about podcasting before and realize that you need a lot of different tools and services these days in order to do a podcast, well, I can assure you that those days are done. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute it to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SIDEKQPodcast, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Again, go to zencastr.com/pricing, use my code SIDEKQPodcast, get that 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. Thank you so much for listening to this ad and for supporting the sponsor. It helps to support the show. And without further ado, on with the podcast. All right. So now this part of the show is the random encounter where we do a role play, a vignette, a scene with the character that we've made here today. So I think Grant's going to do a fantastic job being Tobias. But the question that I have is, who am I going to be in this scene? Am I going to be the mayor's son, furious in the church, wondering where the bride is? Am I going to be an adventuring character that's coming through town and hearing about this and getting the side quest? Or am I someone else from Tobias's Circle of Spores druids? I don't know. What sort of scene are you interested in showcasing him off in today?
I think when he first learns that the bride or groom is missing, and suddenly this promised job is thrown into jeopardy.
Okay, so you want to take it where it's the important person's kid left at the altar, and they're like having this argument or something in the church, and then maybe Tobias is working or butting in or something like that, and getting the inciting incident that then leads into, okay, well, I need to go find some people to deal with this because I got to work on that roof or whatever.
Yeah. I'm picturing it's a large, tall building,
Mhm.
thatched roofs. Uh, some places are falling apart just through general age and wear and tear. Bugs have eaten through some areas, which lets a lot of natural light in, which is nice, but not great for when it rains. And it's the rainy
Mm.
season coming up.
Mm.
And this mostly elven village is a, anticipating a wet rainy season coming up. And so Tobias, he's got his sheaves. He's gathered them all. He's spent the better part of yesterday gathering all these sheaves together. He's measured some things out. He's got his ladder. He's just put it up against the the wall of this large church, and he's about to grab hold of the rungs. He's memorized where the rungs are. This is a ladder that he's used a lot of times, so while he can't see the rungs, he knows exactly where they are.
And so from within the church, through some of these holes that are appearing in the thatched roof, the mayor's son, Oloran, is Tobias with his enhanced hearing can hear Oloran just kind of like being, you know, just over the top. He's like out of it. He's just like, I just don't understand where she went. Where she went. Trislin, we're supposed to be married, and we have all this going on, and the roof, and I just don't understand. I don't think my father is going to approve. And then you'll hear an older voice of a cleric sort of a figure being like, "Oh, worry not. I'm sure that Trislin will appear. It just, you're both young, no, barely out of your childhood years, both spry 99s, soon to be hundreds and adults, and you're ready to be married." And then, probably the doors clang open, and then you hear loud stomps, and then Theron, who's like the mayor of the town, is like, "What's all this then?" And he starts raising a whole big stink. So Tobias is hearing all this arguing going on. It technically may be in Elvish, but we'll assume that since this is an Elven community, that that's a language that Tobias has picked up. So what's Tobias thinking in his head as all this is going on? There's this talk about like, where's the bride? Is this wedding even worth going through? Like, I don't even know why we keep this church open. All that sort of talk.
Yeah. Before he starts his slow descent down the ladder, because as you've mentioned, he is fast on the roof but slow on the ladder and on the ground. He first has a little bit of rapport spores, some mold, some fungus wafts up around his ears, and almost as if he's talking to himself. Yep, I better go take a peek at what's going on in there. Lend an ear, lend some elderly sage advice. Heads down the ladder and with his walking stick in hand, it raps on either side of the door frame. Crooked, he hobbles on in, tapping his cane loudly on the cobblestone floor. And I hear that there's something going on here. Something with the Trislin girl. That's the one?
Oh, and then the priest speaks up. Oh, Tobias. Oh, I'm so sorry we were loud. And then the mayor whips around and is like, oh, Tobias. And he starts grumbling. And then he maybe more focuses back on his son, Oloran. But the priest comes over and he like very assuringly like puts a hand on Tobias, like to let him know like he's next to him. And then removes his hand. It's just like, "Oh yes, yes. I don't know. It seems that something's gone on with this Trislin, and Oloran is and Theron the mayor are very concerned about this, and and he's trying to placate, and then Theron's getting more mad in the background. He's like, well, if this girl isn't going to honor the marriage agreement, then why even spend the money in this? And then that's when the priest looks over and is like, but Lord Mayor, surely the rainy season.
Let's not be too hasty now. I mean, uh, pardon me for speaking out of turn, Mayor Theron. I know I'm not officially a towns member, a townsperson, whatever you call them here, but I feel like I've lent my aid here for many a year. Now, I'm sure that this church is beautiful. It smells. I can smell the wood. I can smell the thatch. I can smell the upholstery even here. It's a beautiful place, wouldn't you say, Mayor? Don't you think it's worth putting in a little effort here?
Mm, yes. I mean, the politician in him is hearing these words, but I think he's also just kind of spun up and worked up a little bit. That he continues on in a string of Elvish of like what he's gonna do, and like Oleron, I can't believe like you fell for this Trislin girl. Look at this; she proves she's not worthy of you and worthy of this marriage and all this stuff. And then I think he's just gonna go storm off, and he's dragging Olorin with him. So it's just at this point, it's just the priest and you left. So the priest is just like, oh my goodness, oh dear, I'm so sorry you had to hear that. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Bef- Tobias can hear the footsteps of Mayor Theron and Olaran leaving, and before they get past the threshold and leave this temple again, he's just communicating with his rapport spores, and
Mhm.
getting this guidance from this fungus that's growing on his back and under his fingernails and things, and sighs and taps his walking stick really hard.
All right. If it means that much to you, I'll get this. I'll get this arranged. We'll have a wedding. Don't you worry about that there, young boy.
Motioning to where he assumes Olerin is standing.
Mhm.
And don't you worry, Mayor Theron. This I'll do my best talking some sense into her. You think that she's some flippant, running off, think that this is, you don't know what she's been through. Maybe this is, I don't know what she's been through. I'll leave it to me. You worry about whatever flowers you're putting on, what sort of a wild game you're going to be serving, and whatever else you mayors busy yourself with. I'll go find her.
Yeah, I think with Tobias stopping the mayor and getting him to think of things a little more logically, there and with his enhanced hearing, he can hear the mayor muttering under his breath, "Oh, yes, Tobias, always thinking of his paycheck or whatever." But then like then he thinks better of himself and then remembers like, "Oh yeah, Tobias's ears are pretty sharp, like an elf's ears." So then he'll just be like, all right, fair enough. If you are going to take this problem off my hands and lead this expeditionary charge to find the missing girl, then so be it. One less problem for me to have to deal with, Oloran. And then his son's like, well, what did I do, father? And then it starts to slowly devolve into a Monty Python sketch as the two of them exit the church. And with the priest just left wondering and muttering, like, oh dear, what do I do? And oh, is there anything that I can do to help you? What's the sort of last thought or moment or scene that Tobias is going to take in this church?
He just sighs at the father son spat that's going on just outside of his range of hearing. Hears the priest muttering, and because he's nervous about his church falling apart and everything like that, and sighs. You've got better eyes than me. You see any adventurers coming through town? Send them my way. I'll be up there. And he starts hobbling back towards his ladder.
And scene. So he did it. So what was it like getting to be Tobias, the Circle of Spores, Grimlock druid?
I think he's gonna be popping up in a couple villages for sure in a couple different games.
Yeah, I think Tobias is pretty cool. It's a it's a way to I think it's a good way to visualize some of these NPCs and these other species and ancestries and races that are presented in the material of like, oh, they don't just have to be in the Underdark. You could conceivably find a Grimlock on the surface. They might have a harder time, but it seems like Tobias has found a way to make it work, and he's endeared himself with the community, and he provides a vital service, and they're all the better for him being around.
Absolutely, yeah. The I love having the NPCs that are not just another dwarf, elf, human. Having the weird NPCs, especially if they're not going to last for very long. I mean, not that they're
Mm,
gonna. If the party is just passing through a village,
mm.
throw a random weird NPC in there.
Exactly. It makes him stop and look twice, do a double take, and then be invested in the town. Perfect. Yeah. So, we're now at the part of the show where it's final thoughts. So, I always check in with the guest and ask them how their time was on the podcast and what they thought of the whole process of creating a whole brand new NPC that, you could take into your game on Saturday or Sunday or Tuesday or Thursday.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I loved rolling up the new character and learning about them as the dice rolled. I love doing that, having my players do that as well. I
Mm,
sometimes have players come to the table without a thought in their head, and they roll their stats down the line and just let the stats speak to them and see what type of character is this. And so that was a lot of fun doing something similar for this random Grimlock. Did not have a Grimlock in mind
right.
for when we were coming up with I was getting ready to make a dwarf or a gnome or something like that.
Right.
A
Yeah,
lot of
but we
fun.
got Grimlock, and it's a cool Circle of Spores druid at that too. So that's super cool. Now I'm imagining like even mushrooms growing over like where his eye sockets, where the skin is over, and he just has like maybe even mushroom pattern that even look like artificial eyes or something like that.
A little
That'd be kind
body
of cool.
horror, sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, hopefully not too much like The Last of Us where it's like clicker sort of a thing, but I don't know. Could be cool, could be horrific, depends on the tone of your game.
Right.
But here in the final moments of the podcast, I always leave it to the guests. So the microphone, the soapbox, the stage, the platform is yours. So plug what you got to plug. Tell us where we can find you, how we can support. Powered by D&D. The magic item reels that you're doing every day, and any other passions or causes we need to be made aware of. Let us know.
For sure. Yeah, like you said on Instagram, my handle is powered by D&D. It's DND because they didn't allow the ampersand. And then there's a dot in between there. So powered.by.dnd. That's my handle there. I'm on TikTok. My name there is the worst DM, and that's just from an inside joke that I have with my players because I don't allow any characters to get healing. If they're knocked down to 0 hit points, they have to be stabilized before they get any healing. And I say because I'm the worst. And
Mm.
so you can find me there on TikTok at the worst DM. I'm thinking about putting some stuff up on YouTube, figuring probably couldn't hurt, but
Yeah.
on
The shorts, community is also there on YouTube as well. So
yeah.
you got to game the algorithm.
Exactly, right? Yeah, on Facebook as well, because whenever I put something on Instagram, it pops up on my Facebook as well.
Mm.
But regardless of where I am, the hashtag roll for magic item is where you're going to find me. Always use that hashtag. And I don't think anybody else has been using it. So I've got over 372 items. I rolled that today. When this comes out, I'll be probably around 400 or so.
Wow.
So
A whole year's worth. That's amazing.
yeah, I just got the year anniversary. I started February 27th, 2025. And then I took a few days off. I know, terrible me for taking the days off. But then the 365 was a couple weeks ago, or last week. Math is hard, but
Beautiful. And thank you so much, Grant, for being a guest on the podcast and for making this character today. And I can't wait to have you back on the podcast making even more interesting NPCs.
thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Overcast, or YouTube, or feel free to save the RSS feed to use the app or player of your choice. Visit our website, sidekicksandsidequests.com, for links, write-ups of the NPCs, and to learn more about the show and the guests who have been on it. To stay up to date and interact via social media, you can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram/Threads, Twitter/X, and Reddit by searching for Side KQ Podcast. You can also find our small Discord community as well online. I would love to talk D&D and showcase your fan art, stories of how you used our NPCs, discussions, and commentary. And hey, if you'd like to hail the bard and send me a message, an email, you can do so by communicating with sidekicksandsidequests@gmail.com. To help this show be the resource it's meant to be, I ask that you leave a review on iTunes, 5 stars, please, to help spread the word and share our podcast with your friends and family. Whether you're a veteran player or an aspiring dungeon master, there's something here for everyone, and I want to hear about it. As mentioned in the NPC creations section of the podcast, I do in fact have a Patreon for Sidekicks and Sidequests. If you love this podcast and what we're trying to do here, I would appreciate it if you would just go to the website, patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests. No matter your lifestyle expenses, we have wonderful rewards at every level of Patreon membership tier. Modest, comfortable, wealthy, and aristocratic accommodations await, and we welcome all patrons to the Levitating Platter. Seriously, your financial support allows for this passion project to continue to invest in itself through the tools that will take our production to the next level, as well as provide more content for our patrons and the community at large. Please consider supporting me on Patreon if you can.
Sidekicks and Sidequests is unofficial fan content permitted under the fan content policy.
Meaning I'm not approved or endorsed by Wizards.
Portions of the materials used are property of Wizards of the Coast.
Copyright Wizards of the Coast,
LLC.
Thank you for your support, and I'll see you at the pub next time.
Bar to rock on 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.